Well, good evening. Defending Hong Kong, it's a very big topic. Um, Also, with the enactment of the national security law, some people have left because they don't have the so-called faith in the system anymore since 11 months ago. But some people still think that they can call Hong Kong home, even though for those who witnessed the extreme makeover over the last 11 months has been more than surreal. Today, I have Jennifer Eagleton with me. She is a linguist. Dr. Eagleton, thank you for appearing at Etchin Life. And we're just going to have a general chit chat about Hong Kong in general. And I know you will be having a book that will be published sometime early next year. This audience is quite global. Reason why this is the case is because a lot of people actually have left Hong Kong, and I did a little bit of a research of sorts, survey, I should say. 30 to 35% of the radio and interactive media viewers are located overseas now.
Really?
I'm just going to say something very briefly for like 20 seconds in Cantonese. 咁今日咧，我哋咧請嚟 Jennifer Eagleton，佢喺香港咧係97回歸後8月咧已經喺呢度居住。So she is a Hong Kong. I just explained to the audience that you have been here since August 1997. So a real Hong Kong after the handover. Welcome to come to the show. So
thank you.
Why stay in Hong Kong when everyone is leaving? When AmCham is talking about a lot of businesses are considering moving out. Is it a good time to stay? You need a lot of courage to be.
I don't know whether how many people have left. It's hard. People are thinking about leaving, or they're planning to leave. I don't know. I mean, obviously people are leaving. Personally, I kind of just want to see how things develop in the next year, maybe 2 years, because I came just after the handover, and that's got me into the applied linguistic area because I'm interested how people talk about the change and how they face the change. So even though it is rather depressing, the latest turn of events, and it's concerning to me, but I think it's sort of, as I've seen, I just want to see how it develops for another year or two. I mean, I'm not that hopeful that it'll change for the better, but I think it's at an interesting period of Hong Kong's history, and I've been through the whole period, so I think I should stay here for a bit longer at least.
You are from Australia.
That's right.
And you don't have a case like the Canadians. There were like two Michaels who were detained. Right now, I don't even know where they are. And when China and Canada went into some sort of disagreement, so to speak, over a telecommunications company called Huawei. And the CFO is now still detained in Vancouver, but all of a sudden, in December of 2018, if I'm correct, 2 Canadians under the first name Michaels, they were detained until now. We don't even know where they are. Now, so far, there's no Australian who is detained in China nor Hong Kong, but in Hong Kong, there's an enactment of the NSL, National Security Law. Are you concerned about, like how things would unravel? Because since 11 months ago, some people that you might have known, they are detained in Hong Kong for various reasons, for participating in a primary election, which in a democratic society, I think it's quite normal to have a primary. There are many different definitions to how someone could be so-called a letter breaking the law.
Yeah, I don't really want to be an Australian in a Hong Kong jail, but I suppose being an Australian citizen, you've got a bit more kind of maybe protection, hopefully. But then again, so many things have happened that we didn't expect to happen in Hong Kong in recent times that anything is possible. So we might have thought certain things were ridiculous, would never happen here, but now you can't actually rule anything out. And even though I don't think I'm and have an issue with anything much, but being in sort of an educational system, you have to be careful. And now Carrie Lam is talking about like external forces involved in universities, which she doesn't name, which is really annoying. And so many people are in areas where they've just got to. I mean, I don't say anything against the government. I'm for one country, two systems. As a applied linguist, I like to look at the language from both sides, and I mentioned some things that may be considered illegal if you shouted them out on the street. But I'm just it's a historical thing that I want to, how both sides talk about political development, and it's just sad when you start to feel, even though I don't censor myself, I feel like that you sometimes feel a little bit worried that you might be too outspoken because you're saying your views.
Yeah.
Which is sad that we start to feel like that because, we're told that we can criticize the government, but then again, when you do say something against the government, it's sort of against national security. And I think the whole issue is that these documents are very vague and ambiguous. So if you knew what the kind of red line, what you can, they're saying respect one country, two system, respect the mainland and that, but what does that mean? What actions are not respectful? We're not told, so therefore we don't know. There was a cartoon around that I saw that somebody asked a policeman, how do I know if I've broken the national security law? And the police officer replies, when I arrest you, because we don't know. And even when we ask government officials, like, okay, we don't want to do the wrong thing, tell us what we can do. And then they're sort of vague. This is why certain places, certain countries, certain governments like to use kind of principles in their writing, so that a principle is not a concrete law. You can kind of adjust it. That's why in the basic law, when they talk about like the ultimate aim is the universal suffrage, the election of the chief executive by universal suffrage, and they use the terms actual situation and according to gradual orderly progress. And we know all along that they were delaying even in the first 10 years, like it's not the right time, the actual situation is not right, this is gradual, orderly enough, and so on. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I guess for the business sector, they quite concerned. The Consulate General of Canada, Jeff, before he left 2 weeks ago, I guess the final public appearance that he had was commenting that some businesses have contingency plans already. And I alluded to earlier that American Chamber of Commerce, there are 42% of the companies that's interviewed, they might consider leaving Hong Kong now until the very immediate future. That means people are nervous. And also I read the comment from Wall Street Journal that they interview former chairman of AmCham. The comment was that maybe it is time to leave now. So it's kind of sad when you see businesses suddenly they think that the time value of Hong Kong, it's kind of finished, just like a financial derivative, like an option. When you run out of value, then you run out of time, and then you run out of time.
It's a
So
confidence thing. It's a confidence
yeah,
thing. I mean, that's why in the joint declaration they put elections into the joint declaration. They didn't specify what sort of elections because they did that to give confidence to people about the change. And in the basic law, I mean, the things about gradual orderly progress, social situation, they kind of fudged it, So in some ways you can blame the United Kingdom because, and if you looked at the government Hansards at the time, they said, oh, we'd
mm,
like to give Hong Kong more democracy, but unfortunately we can't. We're so sorry.
uh,
And actually reading some articles from my friend who also writes for the Hong Kong Free Press, and she said that somebody said that a lot of that Hong Kong now is having a true return, like a second return to the mainland because of the other things that were in the basic law and everything were kind of temporary measures to give people confidence. And now with maybe the mainland is more confident in itself as a world power that it can be a little bit stronger in the way it administers Hong Kong. If you remember a few years ago in the basic law fact sheet, they actually had the term that you used to see it all the time, Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong. And now you never see that. There might be still floating around some websites, but generally the fact sheet changed to in English, Hong Kong people administering Hong Kong.
right.
Now, in the Chinese hasn't changed, but the Chinese you could actually define. You can either translate it as administer, rule, that kind of thing. But the
Right.
fact that that rule, administer it, like one word changed, it might not seem a big thing, but linguistically it does. Why change it?
Okay.
And so they changed some order around. I think in the Chinese
Yeah.
fact sheet. I mean, it seems minor, but it's important because
Yeah.
ruling probably sounds like sovereignty. It sounds like independence,
Mm.
right? So administer sort of, on behalf.
Well, even though this is all good wishful thinking, now we try to say good things about China, about Hong Kong, but I guess in general, people just don't have the same confidence as like, I don't know, like 1 year ago. I
Mm,
remember in May of last year when the pro-Beijing camp talked about the NSL would be coming. And then by the time it is enacted on June 30th, it's only 6 weeks. And then there's no consultation with Hong Kong people. Just like
mm-hmm,
you alluded to earlier, the joint declaration, Hong Kong
mm-hmm.
people don't really have a say.
No, no,
So
never.
this is quite chilling to a lot of people. And I just did some street smart survey talking to different people, and they were kind of saying if there's more suppression, if there's more white terror, if there's no more commemoration of June 4th, and if China/Hong Kong is not blocking people from leaving on August 1st onwards because of the new immigration ordinance amendment, in 7 to 10 years' time, they think that 1/3 of the Hong Kong population would be overseas. That means the so-called the spirit of Hong Kong. It's not talking about the Lime Rock so-called spirit. It's
Mm,
Hong
mm,
Kongers
mm,
everywhere globally.
I think too that like when the joint declaration was signed and a lot of people decided to get foreign passports, and then they saw that just Hong Kong seemed to be, you know, continuing as it was, more or less,
Yeah,
they came back. And it's not the same situation now. It's not like I think that people will go away and then all come back. I think also, I think the education, the fact that every little thing is national security, which, I mean, no one's against having a national security law that's fair. You don't want someone to try to bring down the government by force or armed insurrection or anything. No one wants that. But the fact that like every little thing seems to threaten national security. I mean, a slogan, you know, um, a poster. I mean, how strong is a country when you're afraid of a slogan
or
um,
candlelight vigil.
or a candlelight vigil? You know, um, And you know, they could have easily had something arranged for people to do, and people would appreciate it. But you know, they're sort of actually, as someone said, they're making more publicity for it by doing what they're doing than kind of just letting it go ahead. So you know, I don't know how they can keep going and saying Hong Kong is, you know, like in the booklet about for the new electoral changes, they say there's a frequently asked question like, you know, will the LegCo become a rubber stamp? No, it won't. It'll be more fair. It'll be fairer. It'll be balanced. Everybody, you know, like you know, this.
Can you show us the booklet? You have a booklet, right?
Yeah. You can get this from the Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau website. I'm sure there's a Chinese version as well, because I've seen them hold up a Chinese version in their pictures. But
do you believe in the things that's said inside the booklet, or is it more like a propaganda?
Well, what do you think? Anyway,
I know how I think.
Yeah, the FAQs, they've got 12 of them, but they're kind of, you know, it's like, you know, we'll still have universal suffrage. I mean, I'm paraphrasing because some of the questions are quite long. You know, will the Democrats be able to run again? You know, will LegCo become a rubber stamp? Yeah. Why district councillors excluded from the electoral committee? Is it the electoral system tailor-made for? This is what one of the questions is improving the electoral system tailor-made for the pro-establishment camp with the aim to exclude the opposition from the LegCo? And they say no, patriotism is not the monopoly of specific groups. But they still don't, you know, they define, you know, the criteria, respect the central authorities and all of that, but they don't actually say who determines what's patriotism. They have these so-called criteria, but what does it mean to respect or to abide by the principles of the one country, two systems? I mean, like, it's vague. You like, what do you mean by respect? Does it mean like, can I say this? Can I do that? But they're not specific. So that means your people are kind of more likely to censor themselves or not say anything at all because they don't know when they're going to cross the line, you know, which is sad because, you know, people, Hong Kong people, you know, like to express their opinion, and now people are holding back. And if you're in a job that you deal with mainland or education or many things, you're going to be more careful. I mean, if you're in a job that, you know, this is not important, you're probably okay. But I think it will affect a lot of people, even business, because if things can change really suddenly in other aspects, why not business, you know?
Okay.
If you offend someone important.
Yeah.
For example.
Now, Jennifer, we don't have much time. We got 3 minutes left. I just want to ask you one last question. I know you, like me, we want to stay until the very end, but things could change without warning.
That's true.
What happened to a lot of the pandemic people that you know are either detained or already serving jail terms? I don't know how things would change for the better or for worse. Now, it's not up to me to judge, but the last minute before we close, so it's, can I ask you the name of your new book? I know you are wrapping up. You will spend the next few months trying to finalize it.
Yes.
What's the name?
The name's a bit kind of a mouthful. It's called Discursive Change in Hong Kong, Socio-Political Dynamics, Metaphor, and One Country, Two Systems. So I deal with metaphor, how people talk about democratic development. I've got a chapter on how the Basic Law was drafted, and I also have a chapter on the Umbrella Movement and 2019 protest, and various other bits and pieces. It's kind of like a cross-section of Hong Kong post-97, how they talked about political reform, particularly. My first 10 years was about democratic development, so now it seems really strange because we don't have any.
I mean, it's gone. Definitely. It's an extreme makeover. They rewrite everything. So, Okay, so I kind of look forward to seeing your new book. And next time when we talk on there, maybe we can share about faith. I mean, you need faith and you need hope to to be to feel alive in Hong Kong,
Right,
almost.
for sure, for sure. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and you have a great day. And for those
Okay.
people who are interested to know more about Jennifer's upcoming book, please contact me. Proudly, I will write you. The long name is quite long. I can't even remember it.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
neither sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And
Yeah, bye
please don't
bye.
leave it. I would like to talk to you for a minute after I end.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.